Hello everyone, I am Dr. K. Shantakumari, Assistant Professor, Department of English, P.B. Siddhartha College of Arts and Science. Today I am here to explain on grammar translation method in ELT. Grammar translation method is a very important method in English language teaching. Before I start PPT, let me talk about grammar translation method in a brief way. As the names of some of its leading exponents suggest, the grammar translation was the offspring of German scholarship, the object of which, according to one of its less charitable critics, was to know everything about something rather than the thing itself. Let us move on to the next slide of grammar translation method. Introduction. The grammar translation method, in short, is called GTM, as a traditional approach to teaching foreign languages primarily focused on grammar and vocabulary. It is widely used in English language teaching and has several key characteristics and techniques. Let us see the key characteristics of grammar translation method. Focus on grammar. The primary focus is on learning the grammatical rules of the target language. Students often memorize rules and apply them to translations. Translation exercises. A significant portion of the instruction involves translating sentences or passages between the target language and the native language. This helps reinforce grammar and vocabulary. Vocabulary lists. Students are typically provided with lists of vocabulary, words to memorize. These lists often include words taken from literary texts. Reading and writing emphasis is one of the outstanding features of grammar translation method. GTM emphasizes reading and writing skill over speaking and listening. Students read texts in target language and translate them into their native language. And grammar translation method, many thought that it was a centered method. The teacher plays a central role, providing explanations and guiding students through exercises. There is less emphasis on student interaction or communicative practice. Let us see the techniques of grammar translation method. Grammar rules presentation. The teachers explain grammatical structures often through deductive reasoning. For example, a teacher might present the rule for formatting the past tense before students practice it. Translation tasks. Students are given sentences in the target language to translate into their native language and vice versa. This helps to reinforce understanding of vocabulary and grammar. Fill in the blank exercises. These exercises require students to complete sentences with the correct form of a word or grammatical structure, reinforce their understanding of grammar. Sentence transformation. Students practice changing sentences from one form to another, example, from active to passive voice and vice versa, to deepen their understanding of grammatical rules. Reading comprehension. Students read texts in target language, answer comprehension questions, and translate passages. This promotes vocabulary acquisition and understanding of contexts. Written exercises. Students often complete written assignments that focus on using specific grammatical structures which reinforce their learning. The goal of foreign language study is to learn a language in order to read its literature or in order to benefit from the mental discipline and intellectual development that result from foreign language study. So grammar translation is a way of studying a language that approaches the language first through detailed analysis of its grammar rules, followed by application of this knowledge to the task of translating sentences and texts into out of the target language. It hence views language learning as consisting of little more than memorizing rules and facts in order to understand and manipulate the morphology and syntax of the foreign languages. The first language is maintained as the reference system in the acquisition of second language. So written exercises which are observed in grammar translation method are very important. Students often complete written assignments that focus on using specific grammatical structures which reinforces their learning. Let us look into the strengths of this method. Strong grammar foundation. Grammar translation method provides a solid understanding of grammar rules, which can be beneficial for academic contexts. Cognitive development. It also contributes to the cognitive development of the students who are learning the target language. Engaging in translation exercises can develop analytical skills and enhance cognitive abilities. Weaknesses of this method. Limited speaking practice. The method often neglects speaking and listening skills, which are crucial for real life communication. Lack of contextual learning. Vocabulary and grammar are often learned in isolation, which may hinder the ability to use language in practical situations. Student motivation. The focus on rote memorization and translation can lead to disengagement and lack of interest in the language. So grammar translation method by and large is a very useful method to learn English language. So reading and writing are the major focus. Little or no systematic attention is paid to speaking or listening, as I have already mentioned. Vocabulary selection is based solely on the reading texts used, and words are taught through bilingual word lists, dictionary study, and memorization. In a typical grammar translation text, the grammar rules are presented and illustrated. A list of vocabulary items is presented with their translation equivalents, and translation exercises are prescribed. The sentence is the basic unit of teaching and language practice. Much of the lesson is devoted to translating sentences into and out of the target language, and is this focus on the sentence that is distinctive feature of the method. Earlier approaches to teach foreign language is used grammar as an aid to the study of texts in a foreign language. But this was thought to be too difficult for students in secondary schools, and focus on the sentence was an attempt to make language learning easier. Accuracy is emphasized. Students are expected to attain high standards in translation because of the high priority attached to meticulous standards of accuracy, which, as well as having an intrinsic moral value, was a prerequisite for passing the increasing number of formal written examination that grew up during the century. So grammar is taught deductively, so it is not taught inductively, it is taught deductively. That is by presentation and study of grammar rules, which are the practiced through translation exercises. In most grammar translation texts, a syllabus was followed by sequencing of grammar points throughout the text. And there was an attempt to teach grammar in an unorganized or organized and systematic way. The student's native language is the medium of instruction. It is used to explain new items and to enable comparisons to be made between the foreign language and the student's native language. So anyway, grammar translation method dominated European and foreign language teaching from 1840s to the 1940s. And in modified form, it continues to be widely used in some parts of the world today. So at its best, as Howard in the year 1984 points out, it was not necessarily the horror that its critics depicted it as. Its worst excesses were introduced by those who wanted to demonstrate the study of French or German was no less rigorous than the study of classical languages. This resulted in a type of grammar translation courses remembered with distaste by thousands of school learners, for whom foreign language learning meant a tedious experience of memorizing endless lists of unusable grammar rules and vocabulary, and attempting to produce perfect translations of stilted or literary prose. Although the grammar translation method often creates frustration for students, it makes a few demands on teachers. It is still used in situations where teachers find it difficult to teach the entire grammar of that particular target language, where understanding literary texts is the primary focus of foreign language study, and there is little need for speaking knowledge of the language. Contemporary texts for the teaching of foreign languages at the college level often reflect grammar translation principles. These texts are frequently the products of people trained in literature rather than in language teaching or applied linguistics. Consequently, Though it may be true to say that the grammar translation method is still widely practiced, it has no advocates. It is a method for which there is no theory, there is no literature that offers a rationale or justification for it or that attempts to relate it to issues in linguistics, psychology, or educational theory. In the mid and late 19th century, opposition to the grammar translation method gradually developed in several European countries. This reform movement, as it was referred to, laid the foundations for the development of new ways of teaching languages and raised controversies to have continued to the present day. So let us look at the weaknesses of grammar translation method now. So, what is the weakness? Limited speaking practice. The method often neglects speaking and listening skills, which are crucial for real life communication. And as I said, lack of contextual learning. Vocabulary and grammar are often learned in isolation, which may hinder the ability to use language in practical situations. Student motivation. The focus on rote memorization and translation can lead to disengagement and lack of interest in the language. So to conclude this particular topic, while the grammar translation method has its merits, particularly for reading and writing in formal contexts, many modern ELT approaches emphasize communicative competence and interactive learning. Combining grammar translation method with other methods such as communicative language teaching can definitely help create a more balanced and effective language learning experience. Thank you so much.